President Trump turned a cabinet meeting this week into something closer to a reality TV marathon than a policy session. According to the Times and all other news sources, the gathering stretched for more than 3 hours, longer than a Godfather movie, with cabinet members lining up to praise the president while he riffed on topics ranging from windmill threats to traffic medians and even the water flow rate. He mused that the spectacle was government and hinted he could humiliate anyone who didn't perform well. Trump floated vaccine autism conspiracies, dangled the death penalty for violent crime, and called the session transparent. In truth, it was a televised exercise in ego management. Here's the deeper problem. The media often treats this behavior as eccentric entertainment. It's what some critics call sane washing. Republicans, meanwhile, continue pretending this conduct is normal, much like Democrats once downgraded Joe Biden's own frailties. The result? A president who increasingly appears detached from reality, both parties and the press reluctant to say plainly what millions can see already. Okay, what's the real message here? Pay attention, folks. If you were troubled by Joe Biden's debate performance last year against Donald Trump, where he clearly didn't seem capable of that office, you need to be even more troubled by this utter fiasco of a 3-hour and 17-minute cabinet meeting this week, where Trump is just out of control, ranting, spewing utter nonsense about insane things. This is not normal, folks. It's not the way sane, rational, effective governments run. And to just write this all off, say, well, that's Trump being Trump. That's no different than saying Biden, he's just having a bad day. No, sometimes it's time to get off the stage. Let's dig a little deeper here. It's all well and good to criticize the people around around Joe Biden last year for being overly protective and for not really thinking first and foremost about what's good for the country or good for the party. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the Biden people were awful. And wasn't it awful that the mainstream media kept this hidden? I think the mainstream media is doing a horrible job of really spotlighting how many crazy, absolutely poop things are coming out of Trump's mouth, and just the bizarre things that go on in cabinet meetings that historically have just never happened before. And this cabinet meeting was so long that they finally had to interrupt him and say, what do you think about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift getting engaged? I mean, all sorts of news stories kept going on, and thankfully at least some news channels broke away from the cabinet meeting to talk about more important things, Taylor Swift and her engagement. Folks, when the government meets, when the cabinets meet, it's supposed to be about important stuff. It's not supposed to be a reality show. Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand the difference between being president and playing president on TV. And that's a sign of, and I'm not a professional psychologist or psychiatrist, but it certainly seems like a sign of delusion, a sign of dementia, a sign of Alzheimer's, a sign of someone who's not playing with a full deck, to be scientific about it. And it is time that more Americans, the media, members of the president's party, could just admit that and talk about it. This idea that only one party needs to be accountable for presidents that are operating past their sell-by date, it's not fair, it's not real, and it's not justice. And it's time more and more people just pointed out, regardless of your thoughts on tariffs, and I think they're insane and wildly counterproductive, as a basic level of, does this person seem like they're playing with a full deck? That question needs to be asked by more and more Republicans, MAGA members of Congress. And it may get to the point where maybe we don't have another impeachment. Maybe we have a removal by cabinet members, which is allowed by the Congress because the president appears to be incapacitated. And I don't mean because he's 6 feet under. I mean incapacitated because his brain simply no longer seems to be working like a sane human being, much less the most powerful person in the world.